Well, stand by because we are about to check out one of the sexiest rifle sets out there from SLR Rifle Works. Well, that thing is just nasty looking, isn't it? So I'll be the first one to tell you, looks are not everything, but they sure don't hurt either, do they? So a while back, I found the Blackout Defense stuff. Now, if you guys haven't seen my videos on the Blackout Defense stuff here, they strike the perfect balance between extreme performance and those good looks. Now, SLR just really takes the looks to the next level with a lot of intricate machine work. Differences in what you want and what you want to build, and definitely differences in what you are going to pay. But before we get into the intricate details on those, huge shout out to HRT Tactical, sponsor of today's video, longtime supporter of the channel here. They make hard use carriers and kit, whether you are using this stuff for work or training. From modular plate carriers to simplified harnesses to grab on the go and use out there, fit your needs for whatever mission specific stuff you are looking for. All right, so let's get right into the performance. I know most people kind of do that in the middle or last. We're gonna do it first. So we'll talk about all the parts and everything after the performance, because if you want the same performance and the same looks and the same parts, you kind of want to know how it runs first, at least I do. So I will have a full build list for everything here. You guys can check that out. It'll be the first link in the description and posted, pinned in the comments, and that'll take you over to my website, tacticalconsiderations.com. So talking about how this thing ran on there, it chewed through all of the ammunition that I used. Everything from the basic plinking ammo to the 5.56 greens and some self-defense, more high performance minded ammunition, chewed through all of it. And no, I did not shoot any steel because steel is a last resort, and I usually don't keep any on hand because I don't like shooting steel. But as far as all of the other ammo types, had zero problems with any of it. No failure to fire, no failure to extract, no failures to eject. None of that weird stuff was happening out there. And some of that will come down to you, the end builder, and the quality and the time you put in and the torque specs. Make sure you get everything right. But honestly, guys, this stuff is just not hard to do. You can do this. And I'll put some links to some helpful tools down there as well, because it's much easier with the right tools. Let's dive a little bit into accuracy. So what is the accuracy going to be like on this? That's really gonna mostly depend on you, the end user. Now, these Roscoe barrels out there, they have been tested to some MOA accuracy. That is really gonna come down to you. Now, if you're looking for something ultra crazy, you can go check out a $500 to $600 proof research barrel. But these 416R Roscoe 223 Wild barrels are gonna do everything that you need them to do out there. And if you want, this is a full kit that comes from Roscoe. It's called the Sauce Pack, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. I will say, hands down, right out of the box, this is one of the smoothest receiver sets that I have ever felt. And to end out a little bit of that performance, what is the recoil impulse going to be like? And that's going to be a little bit dependent as well. Some of that's going to be dependent on what style spring, buffer, what style breakup here. I have the Lantac Dragon on this thing. And we'll get into all these parts in just a second to really break down each one. What I will tell you is that out there on the range, the way that this one is set up, specifically with the gas porting on this barrel, hands down one of the softest recoil. You know what recoil impulse basically, as you have this thing shoulder and you're out there on the range, it's how much force is driving back into you, how much muzzle rise you're gonna get. And those are all gonna have an effect on your speed, your accuracy, and all that stuff. I mean, let's be honest, 5.56, 223, 300 blackout, not really gonna be the most recoil intensive systems out there, but you can definitely get them to the point where they are very, very light. Let's get into the specific parts, starting with the builder set. Upper receiver, lower receiver, and the rail, all from SLR as a builder kit in the B15 Ambi receiver set. I will say when it comes to looks, they have absolutely nailed it. No attention to detail was skipped. There is a lot of intricate machine work done here. Everything from the integral trigger guard to the QD points on the rail, on the lower receiver, on the sides there, they're all anti-rotation. They did a spectacular job with the looks on this thing and really put a lot of time not only into the design, but a ton of intricate machine work in here. And anytime you get a lot of machine work, the price is generally going to go up a little bit. Now, the upper and the lower receiver are some of the tightest fitting ones I have ever felt. And they're gonna come with their own pins. They're gonna be pre-installed because they have a little bit of a different design. So instead of using roll pins, they use actual threaded pins in there. So it makes it a lot easier on the bolt catch, on the rear takedown pin and all that stuff. You're not trying to hold pins in or anything. So it does make it a little easier as well. But hands down, one of the slickest looking and definitely one of the smoothest operating upper and lower receivers that I have felt. Now, working our way up into that rail, I have to say, I think this is the Ion Light, I think is the rail, and I will double check that in the description. But it is a more minimalistic, covered in M-Lock, full rail across the top, and it is dead nuts, a good looking rail. It's gonna be very, very firm. It's got those integrated QD points, minimalistic kind of logo on there from SLR, and it's gonna give you everything you need. Now, the barrel nut and attachment and tools, everything is included with this. You torque it on there, go to work. It does have an anti-rotation setup right here where it meets the gas tube at the upper receiver. Not necessarily the best way for anti-rotation, but you're not gonna crank a gas tube off. Trust me, I've put some torque on them and they're not going to break on you. So very easy install. I will say this thing went together extremely smoothly. No issues, no hiccups, no hangups. And just dead good looking to boot. And the Ambi bolt release will be installed from the factory as well, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how to put that in, because that would just add something that you may have never done before, but it is good to go on that. And then you do get a removable brass deflector should you want to run a completely slick-sided rifle. I know a lot of you are probably wondering what trigger did I go with in this one, because if you caught it, it's a little different. It's a curved trigger. And if you paid attention to my channel, I usually really love flat face triggers. This is the curved trigger from Blackout Defense, and it made me love curved triggers again because it performed like this. All right, so if you don't know, that is the 22422 drill. I think like Haley or somebody came up with that drill. Basically, you have 3 targets downrange, about 15 yards, 10 yards, whatever you want to do it at, and you transition from target to target. Probably had mine a little bit too close. Should have had a little bit more transition, but that just goes to show you the level of speed that these triggers will run at. Now, this is the 3-pound version, and it's every bit as nasty. This trigger is insane. It's the best one going out there, in my opinion. I got a code for you guys, TC10. It'll also be at the bill list, some options for you. But that Blackout trigger is nothing short of the most performance-minded trigger I have ever felt. And you get them in 3.5 pound or a more savvy kind of 4.5 pound should you not want to go too light on them, because they'll straight go as fast as possible. When it comes to that furniture, besides my sexy, sweet flatline fiber splatter sling there, on the back end here, we're running a Bravo SOP Mod 1 full stock kit. So that's gonna be the tube, the spring, and went directly with an H buffer in it, knowing that I have carbine buffers laying around, and I have H2s should I wanna run it suppressed and maybe tune it down a little bit. That stock is cool. It's gonna give you everything you're going to need out of a stock. They're extremely durable, reliable. They can take an absolute beating. And then in the back end of these versions, there's actually a really cool little storage compartment. The whole back end opens up, and you can stick your lickies and chewies, your gummy bears, or oil or cleaning kits or whatever you want to put back there. Maybe a little extra bag of Copenhagen in case you run out of chew out there in the field. But that thing's gonna do everything you're going to need it. When it comes to the grip down here on the lower end here, that is gonna be the Magpul K2. So the K2 is a much less aggressive grip angle. So instead of being like an A2 handle, like way out like this, the K2 is much more vertical, much more ergonomically correct for today's kind of modern shooting stance, like forward like this. We're not kicked back like that anymore, kind of like that NRA elbow on hip style shooting, if you still do that thing. But it just seems to work for me. I like the blockiness of it. I like the texture of it more so than others like the BCM Gunfighter. So, but that's all really gonna be up to you. When it comes to the small parts in here, as far as the springs and the detents and all that stuff, I just used one of those Armis spec lower parts kits. I've used them on a bunch of builds over the years. Never had any problems with them. They're gonna come with everything you need, from an Ambi safety that's 45 or 90, all the pins, all the detents, everything you're gonna need, and it's good stuff. So other than that, on this, I did change out to a Radian Raptor on that safety because that's just flat out the one that I like the best. Feels the best on the engagement, and it is just ultra smooth, and I really like the angle that it stops at when I'm coming up into that firing position. I can work that safety super quick, and then I can come on the off side and turn it off as well. So it just seems to be the one that works best for me, but it is an additional cost. And then on the back here to work it out, that is the Radian Raptor light charging handle. So it is an Ambi charging handle, but the little wings on it, your actual engagements, your grabs right there, are polymer, so also known as plastic. But I've used them before, I've beat the tar out of them, I've never broke one. You do save a pretty decent amount of money buying the light version, and it still looks good, and they had it in gray to kind of match the overall build here, which was definitely a positive. Now on the front of the rail, just got an SLR barricade stop. Bought that one from them when I bought the receiver set. Looks good, does everything I need it to. I don't like having a ton of big bulky items on the end here, you know, grab handles, anything like that. Just, that was like all late 90s, early 2000s, and those days are kind of over. Getting into the optics and the lights, you can see I parked a school bus up here on top. That is the new Holosun Ames. I actually really like it. Very cool optic. It's going to get its own review here, but there are some good options. It's got that reticle that we love from Holosun, which is the donut of death and the dot, where you can go back and forth. Solar powered, it's nice and square, it's small, but has a large viewing window in it. When it comes to those penetrating lumens, you can see that light right there. I am currently testing that out for a company. New activation switch, new head, new body. You can see the name on there, but it's still in development, which is why I have it right next to that land tagged brake, because I want to punish that light head and the electronics in there. So we're going to talk about, you know, the heart and the lungs, the barrel, the bolt, the gas system, and all that good stuff that really makes this thing run the way it does. Now, if you've never built a rifle before, you can pretty much go with any decent upper and lower receiver, as long as they're built to spec and they're generally of good quality or even better. Now, what really is going to make the determination how this thing is going to run is the parts you choose for your barrel, your bolt, your gas system, buffer system, and how you put it together. So for this one, I chose the Roscoe 13.7 Bloodline sauce pack. So their sauce pack is a complete system for all of that stuff for you, minus the back end of it, which is the BCM stuff. This is going to have your bolt carrier group assembly. This is going to have your barrel, your gas block, and a gas tube. So it's going to take care of the heart and lungs of the system for you. It's a proprietary gas port sizing here, but it is a mid-length gas system. The one thing I will say, they absolutely crushed it on that gas port size, because like I said up front, this has to be one of the softest recoil on ARs I've ever built. Whether I ran a carbine or an H1 buffer in there, and then even throwing a suppressor on there, it was absolutely almost perfection when it came to how it was gassed on that barrel straight out the factory. The bolt and carrier group is going to be everything that you need it to be. It is magnetic particle inspected, melanite treated, mil spec, auto rated. The gas key is properly staked on there. It's gonna do everything you're gonna need it to do for a fun or a hard use setup, no problems. The gas tube on this one is black melanite treated. And then the gas block up front is your kind of standard low profile design. Does have some nice kind of machine work in it. They do have an adjustable option, and we'll talk more about adjustable gas blocks towards the end. And the barrel chambering and material is going to be 416R stainless, and it's going to be 223 wild, so you can run your 5.56, your 223 all day long without any problems. Now, if you don't know, 223 barrels, you're technically not supposed to run 5.56. However, you can run 223 in 5.56, and that all has to do with pressure. And finishing out the business end is going to be that Landtag Dragon. Now that is an angry muzzle brake. It throws that concussion left, right, forward, everything but pretty much straight back. You are gonna know there is a big angry muzzle brake on the range. Now this Landtag Dragon is set up as a chemo mount to run with your dead air suppressors, and it works quite well. Very nice. The one thing I will say, There's no pin and weld hole from the factory on the Landtag Dragon, at least the one that I got. I don't know if they've changed that. So I had to go over to my buddy's shop and we had to drill that out and weld that up ourselves. Most companies do give you a hole in there or a port, so if you need to pin and weld that, because being that this is a 13.7 barrel, you have to pin and weld this unless you're running it on an SBR. But if you're not, you can make this a rifle by pinning and welding the muzzle device. That's totally legal. They sell a lot of uppers like that because that's going to make it 16 inches overall. And then the soft goods were just that flatline fiber sling right there. They got a ton of different options. You can use code TC10 if you're looking for any padded slings or ear pro wraps or all that good stuff. Great people over there, and they're again a huge supporter of the channel. So let's talk about now, would I change anything? Did I have any problems? And is this build worth it? Is that SLR receiver set worth it? Because it is by no means a budget receiver build. Well, let's talk about changes first. And there is one thing that I would change. I would say overall, I love the way this thing came out. Everything from the looks, the way it functions, the way it feels in the recoil. The one thing I would do is I would go with the adjustable gas block up front. Now, Roscoe does have that option. Doesn't need that, as you saw from the pattern out there that it was ejecting brass out, that low recoil. This barrel is gassed absolutely great, but I don't know what suppressor you're running. I don't know what barrel you're gonna run. I don't know what buffer assembly you have laying around. So having that adjustable gas block allows you the ability to just tune that thing in so finely that you can really have the best experience out there on the range, especially if you're one of those competition guys that needs to go super fast and have the lowest recoil and setup you can. And now the big cost question, is building an SLR like this worth it? Because this is definitely no budget setup, like I said. This receiver set and rail comes as a combo with a single Cerakote color. You want anything crazy, it starts to go up. But basic Cerakote color, rail upper, lower, $839 plus if you want any of those crazy options on there. That's expensive, right? That is very expensive. But here's the way I look at it. I wanted one for a long time. I saved up my pennies, and with the help of my Patreon supporters, and thank you very much, I was able to make this build come together. And then Roscoe did provide that sauce pack to base the build on right there with that receiver set. These are something you really have to want. You've got to want that look, or you've got to want that receiver set with that Ambi setup down there. It's not one of those things you're gonna do as a budget build, because you can build ARs far, far cheaper than this, easily half the cost or less. This is the thing that you do because you want and because you can. If you can't or you don't want to, probably not gonna be your thing. Well, that is it on the SLR build. Again, huge thank you to my Patreons for making this happen, and to Roscoe for supplying that sauce pack. Really appreciate that. I will have the link to the build list down below. Lots of good stuff over there. I have promo codes for some of it. I have discount codes for some of the other stuff like the slings and all those different parts in there. I'll try to find something for everything there. Let me know in the comments, would you do an SLR, or are you cool with kind of the more midline or more budget-friendly stuff? I'm really curious to know where everybody's at. I will say that sauce pack from Roscoe, I did find that on sale. I don't know how long that's gonna last, but it found them for like, I think it was $238 or $239. And that's the bolt carrier, barrel, gas tube, and gas block. That's a pretty exceptional price. I'm not sure how long it's gonna last. I will link that at the build list for you guys. So let me know what your overall thoughts are. You guys get out there, have some fun on the range. Make sure you get subbed up, get belled up, turn the notifications on. And always, remember, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.